So this morning's talk is another talk like this past Tuesday's on the hindrances. In that sutta, another short sutta, the Buddha related the resolution to the hindrances as the Eightfold Path, and also that the hindrances will block us from developing the Eightfold Path. So there to be, we need to apply the concentration we develop through jhana meditation and the refined mindfulness of the entire Eightfold Path in order to address these hindrances. They're real. They're not something that can be ignored or should be ignored. It's just another aspect of ignorance. And they should not be analyzed in any way. They simply are to be recognized and abandoned. In this sutta, called the Nirvana Sutta, nirvana is the Sanskrit word that relates to awakening. Nibbana is the Pali or the Prakrit word, which literally means extinguished. So it's a description of a human being who has developed the Eightfold Path to the point where they've extinguished all of their own fires of passion. That's what the word extinguish relates to. And it also relates in we're getting a little bit into the semantics of the Dhama, but it also relates to the five clinging aggregates in this way. The five clinging aggregates are also called the skandhas or the khandhas, Khandas, or with an S in front of it for the Pali. And that has a few different meanings. One is a heap, but it also relates to the trunk of a tree. And when you connect nirvana or nibbana, meaning extinguish the flames of passion, to the trunk of the tree, the thing that's maintaining ignorance, you can see the connection and the resolution to the problem. Everybody get that? So again, the Buddha's using the common words during his time to talk about this particular problem, but he also relates in this sutta the direct resolution of jhana meditation, or a well-concentrated mind, and how he teaches meditation through the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. And so this is also talking to that well-concentrated mind on our cushion, but also off our cushion. On one occasion, the Buddha was near Savatthi in Jita's Grove at Anathapindika's monastery. He addressed those gathered to hear the Dhama. Friends, be mindful of these five hindrances to fully developing the Eightfold Path. Number one, sensual desire is a hindrance. Number two, ill will is a hindrance. Number three, laziness and drowsiness is a hindrance. Which another way of saying it is lack of enthusiasm for what we're doing, and that's up to us. Once we realize what we're practicing, that enthusiasm should be a natural expression of the way we hold our Dhamma in mind to us, because we have found a true refuge in this world of chaos. Number four, restlessness and anxiety is a hindrance, ongoing worry. And uncertainty is a hindrance. This is always interesting to me, that there's a whole branch of modern Buddhism that often talks about Dhamma practice is recognizing and going deep into your doubt and exploring your doubt and embracing your doubt. That's just a distraction that the Buddha recognized 2,600 years ago. Here the Buddha is saying if you're caught in doubt and uncertainty, recognize it and abandon it. There's no value in analyzing any of these. The Buddha continues, these are the five hindrances. Notice if there was any point in analyzing or picking it apart or finding blame or where it came from or what's wrong with me that I have these, the Buddha would have taught it here. But he doesn't. He say recognize it and simply let it go. In order to abandon these five hindrances, the wise Dhamma practitioner should develop the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. Those the four frames of reference, which is the same thing. The wise Dhamma practitioner remains focused on the arising and the passing away of the body in and of itself, alert and mindful, while putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world. In and of itself simply means without any embellishment, without the need for anything to be different right here, right now, in this body, where I am, in and of itself. Ardent, alert, and mindful, while putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world, is simply another acknowledgement of that. Putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world means I don't need the world or myself in the world to be any different greed than it is, or I don't need to be worried about anything else happening to me, distress. Sorry. Let's see it. There you go. Number 2, the wise Dhamma practitioner remains focused on the arising and the passing away of feelings in and of themselves, ardent, alert, and mindful while putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world. So that greed and distress in and of itself is now applied to feelings. Just like we in the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, the Buddha teaches us in jhana meditation when we're distracted by our feelings to simply acknowledge it and come back to our breath. When we're distracted by our thoughts, acknowledge it and come back to the sensation of breathing. When we're distracted by our emotions, a thought attached to a feeling, we take a breath and unite our minds to our bodies. Number 3, the wise Dhamma practitioner remains focused on the arising and passing away of thoughts in and of themselves, ardent, alert, and mindful while putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world. In that moment, what the Buddha is referring to, the greed and distress in reference to the world, the reference to the world in this moment is my thoughts. It's not the coronavirus, it's not poor governmental leadership on either side, it's our thoughts. And we can get lost in the worldly events. That's why this teaching is so important, because it brings our focus back from outside of us and what's occurring to me and about me, but what am I contributing to this moment in my life? And if in this moment in my life I'm contributing to further ignorance and distraction, confusion, frustration, and fear, I need to take a breath, acknowledge it, and stay within my body. Practice a Dhamma at the point that life is occurring, not in the past and not in the future, not in a hope-for utopia when the world will be in a position where now I can practice a Dhamma, because we'll never get there. The world is a flame with what? The fires of passion. It hasn't changed in 2,600 years. It's not going to change today. The wise Dhamma practitioner remains focused on the arising and passing away of the present quality of mind in and of itself, ardent, alert, and mindful, while putting aside greed and distress in reference to the world. That last reference to the fourth foundation of mindfulness, the present quality of mind, is what I mention at the end of every meditation session. Notice the quality of your mind, be at peace with that. You often hear me say that to be at peace with less than peaceful mind states. That's what I'm referring to. That's fourth foundation of mindfulness. And in an awakened, fully mature human being, that fourth foundation of mindfulness rests in equanimity, which is the Buddha's description here. So if you look at this carefully, we are creating the conditions for the fourth foundations of mindfulness within our own minds to be present and to be well established. That's the point of the Dhamma, to get to that point. And as you're seeing here in this very brief and direct sutta, it's these hindrances that block us in this moment from achieving that level of mindfulness and concentration. And it's only the hindrances. There's no agency working on us to keep us from awakening. There's no malevolent Buddha who noticed that we might have kicked the dog 20 years ago that's holding us back. It's our thinking that holds us back. There's no agency working on us according to the Buddha, according to the Dhamma. It's up to us whether we awaken. It's up to us the quality of our life right here and right now, in the midst of the suffering inherent in the world. It's not an escape. The Buddha's Dhamma is a way of being radically immersed in life as life occurs without the need for it to be any different. Think about that for a moment. To be completely in your life without the need for it to be any different than it is. Each and every moment of life then becomes meaningful. Why? Because you're living it. There's no riddle to that. There's no mystery to the meaningfulness of life. Life is meaningful when we're living it, and it's not when we're not. And it's just that simple. That's what the Buddha discovered. The Buddha continues, the wise Dhamma practitioner should develop these four foundations of mindfulness, these four frames of reference, in order to abandon these five hindrances. So if we want to be free of these, you don't have to think about this in terms of being a Dhamma practitioner, do you? Any human being should want to be rid of these hindrances. And if we want to, we'll practice the four frames of reference, the four foundations of mindfulness. That's what I thought. That was the end of the sutta. I just wanted to check. So the Dhamma points out the problems of ignorance, but it also provides the resolution. And that's the one significant thing, excuse me. That's the one simple and significant thing that sets the Buddhist Dhamma apart from any religion, because religions provide a conceptual reward-based resolution to the suffering inherent in human life. It's not present here and now. The Dhamma provides calm and peace and resolution right here and right now, in this moment, in life as life occurs. The only catch to it is we have to find a way to get into that present moment. That's why jhana meditation is taught by the Buddha. That's why he didn't teach anything else, because it unites the mind and the body right here, right now, where the Dhamma can be practiced, where ignorance can be released. That's the end of today's talk. Let's go online and see how Mary's doing this morning. How are you, Mary?
Hi, good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. This is a very useful sutta. These are the things that trip us up. And it's always good to be reminded that it's through extinguishing and abandoning them, returning to your breath, is the only way, we can achieve, full human maturity. That it is ourselves that trips us up, and that's not meant to be a burden or a weight, or it's not meant to add to the problem, but it's recognition that it is ourselves, our thinking, our behavior, our thought tied to an emotion that is in fact tripping it up. The difficulty is learning to recognize it first after it's happened. After you're past that hindrance and you're deep into some kind of conflict. But in time, through the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, through concentration, to begin to be able to recognize it earlier and earlier in your own behavior, so that you are recognizing it as a thought that never matures, like that never comes out of your mouth, and you are then not participating in the hindrance, preventing you from getting to, awareness, living a peaceful life. So something I work on all the time. I was happy to see that this was the sutta, and it's a good one. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Mary. That was wonderful. And using the word mature is the right word, isn't it? Because it's immature to cling to ignorance, and it's
right.
an aspect of maturity to develop this and end these hindrances. So thank you. Tom, how are you, Tom?
Hi, John. I'm good, thanks.
Good. It's good to almost see you. Let me see you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Thank you.
There you are.
So, I don't actually have a lot to say this week. Just obviously enjoyed the teaching, the simplicity of it. I guess it just makes me think of the immense freedom which can emerge when you remind yourself, or when you remember that, there's nothing out there that you need to sort of go after. There's nothing you need to, you don't need to sort of get approval from anyone. You don't, it really is here and now. And, it doesn't matter how many times I hear that message, I always need to be reminded of it. And, I guess that opportunity to have those little moments, because when you realize it's not out there and it's not something you have to achieve so much, it gives me these occasional moments of real freedom.
Yeah.
I can relax. I don't need to be striving, or it's really in my hands how I live my life, and to truly live your life and to bring meaning out of that. So that's, I guess, what the sutta and your explanation of it sort of brought to mind for me this week.
Thank you, Tom. And you remember a lot of the suttas recently, but over time too, because I teach it often. This is the same teaching as the Buddha's admonition about establishing yourself in non-physical realms through speculation. It's all the same thing. that comes down to this, keeping your mind in your body and living a human life, not some kind of fabricated imaginary life in some strange realm, you know, that provides the things that we can't understand here. That's the point. Thank you. Ed, good morning. How are you?
Sorry, are you talking to me, John?
Yes, Ed. How are you this morning?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Feeling a bit of the pressure from all of the current events that are preoccupying us these days.
Yeah.
I suppose the upside of it all is that you get to see the dukkha nature of the world more clearly all the time, and there's less and less attraction to all of the preoccupations that distract us or tend to distract us. So I guess that's the upside of the so-called crisis.
Yeah, and everything is, no matter what's occurring in the world, whether it's very peaceful or there's a lot of chaos, it's always for a Dhamma practitioner, it's always the opportunity to awaken is right here and right now. And the difficulty is when the world seems like it's getting out of hand, we tend to get distracted by that. But well, the resolution is right here in the sutta. Take a breath, come back into our body, and realize that there's nothing unique in the world right now. These are all ordinary occurrences that are made extraordinary by people's reactions to them. And that's not to say that the coronavirus isn't real, but we don't have to lose our minds over anything. I mean, if we can do it over something like this, maintain a calm and peaceful mind, we are actually experiencing the benefits of our Dhamma practice. Thank you, Ed. Thanks for bringing that up. Josh, how are you this morning?
Good, John. Thank you for the sutta.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed what everybody had to say, and I wish I could say that hindrances haven't always been a part of my life, but I think I'm at age 79, drowsiness and laziness are kind of difficult to fight. And but I really enjoyed what you said about being peaceful with less than peaceful thoughts. And it kind of reminds me of an AA saying of what we seek is progress rather than perfection. And it kind of goes along with what Mary said, that we can kind of take the pressure off ourselves if we just realize that we're trying our best to practice the Dhamma and not get too tied up in chastising ourselves too much for not working it perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Well said, too. Give me 1 second, please. Menu. Save. Okay, sorry about that. Julia, how are you? There you are.
Hello. I'm going to take noble silence today. Thank you, John. But thank you for the teaching.
I'm glad you joined us. How are you, Michael?
Hi, John. Hi, everybody. Just to pick up a little bit on what Josh was saying there. Yeah, I think it's part of what this whole thing is about is not like is accepting ourselves and being, as you say so many times, John, being gentle with ourselves, and to obviously being gentle with ourselves. It's okay not to not make the right decisions at times, but recognize that. So when we're gentle with ourselves, not like just falling into defeatism, but instead we're actually learning from it and developing recognition. And I think that helps forward. So again, that what you had said, learning, compassion for ourselves so that we can impart it to others.
But
Done.
that's the point, isn't it? I mean, if we're really going to help each other,
Yes.
the most loving thing we can do for ourselves and for all others is to take to the Dhamma and awaken, isn't it?
Sorry, John, could I just ask a quick question? I meant to ask it earlier and I just remembered, I think what Josh was saying reminded me. It seems like there's a little, there's a possible, what's the word, friction between this idea of being kind to yourself, right? But then also, if one of the five hindrances is laziness, sometimes I get, I'll be a little bit frustrated with myself because I'm like, I could have done a lot more, or I should be striving more, right, in my Dharma practice. So how do you get that balance right between being kind to yourself, but at the same time, really taking it seriously and giving it your best shot? Because sometimes I do feel I haven't tried as hard as I could have done, right? If I'm being honest with myself, I've sat around all morning, my intention was to meditate. I didn't meditate. I watched like crap TV instead or something. And so how do you get that balance right in your
That's
sort
a
of...
great question, Tom. Right effort tells us that we don't judge ourselves. When we find out, when we realize that I didn't meditate this afternoon because I'd rather watch the Yankees, we don't judge ourselves for being foolish. We simply acknowledge that the right effort would be in meditating. That's it. And getting into anything else, why I didn't meditate, who's to blame, how stupid I am, or I can't do that, all of that is mentioned in the five hindrances, isn't it? And it's all part of that need for sensual desire and uncertainty and doubt. It's all part of that. So the answer to your question is through the Dhamma, and learning to not judge ourselves harshly. We're not bad people because we need to awaken. We're wise people because we want to awaken. That's a significant difference. Nobody has to take to the Dhamma. It's not a moral or ethical imperative for anyone. I'm just glad I found it. And that freedom that comes from realizing that I don't have to beat myself up in order to truly better myself is a huge revelation, because it's sometimes hard to see, but we're taught in our Western society, and not even just the West anymore, that the way to better yourself is to first beat the hell out of yourself. Find out all the things that are wrong with you, eliminate them, accentuate the positive. Well, you never get there. I'm using silly terms, accentuate the positive. What is accentuate the positive? It's aversion to something that I think is wrong with me, rather than simply acknowledging this is where I am right now. This is what's causing distress in my life, and it's rooted in ignorance of Four Noble Truths. Let me practice right effort and abandon it. So sorry for the long answer to your simple question, but it's such a key question, Tom. So thank you. Did that help?
Very much so, yeah. Thank you.
Michael, did you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just again, it seems like we're on this self-recognition part of things. So it's like almost like one step backwards, two steps forward. If that helps with the explanation of because like that one step backwards, like when we are not doing, when hindrances are occurring, whichever one they may be, in that recognition, recognizing it. Recognition is such a huge part of the Dhamma, because then when we're recognizing it, we're creating a little separation, and we're viewing ourselves, in how
That's
we can.
why we need to have a common peaceful mind. It's for that one thing, for recognition.
It's recognition.
The rest of the mindfulness allows us for the abandonment of what we're recognizing no longer serves us, providing the resolution for it. And so you're so right. It's right here, right now. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Tom, I have to leave in 15 minutes, so I'm just going to ask you to be a little bit brief, but we have plenty of time for everyone. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. It's so nice and tight and clear. There are hindrances. You recognize them, you abandon them, you go back to the eightfold.
Yeah.
I realize that in history, in the history of Buddhism, you know, all these trades in Buddhism basically succumb to some form of the hindrances.
Absolutely.
And
Everyone.
started building huge
Yeah.
edifices about, you know, why this hindrance is actually okay.
Oh, yeah, they justify them and legitimize the hindrances. That, like what I just said, one of the major forms of modern Buddhism, and I won't say what it is, but everybody recognizes it, teaches you, go into your doubt. Embrace your doubt. Another word for embrace is cling to your doubt. It's so contrary to what the Buddha taught, but it resolves the issue of having to deal with the hindrances, doesn't it?
And right here in Frenchtown, you see the hindrances, you know, because they're still popping up.
Oh, yeah.
And we do go back to the Eightfold Path. We do go back to Jhana. And we're staying on the path.
Yeah. Thank you. Well said. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning. I'm really, thank you for the teaching today. I'm really enjoying listening to everyone and hearing everybody's comments and questions. So I'm going to take note of silence.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. We'll see you Tuesday. Good. Hello, David. Thank you for being here. I mean, I do have time for people to comment. Good morning, Becky.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everybody. It seems like Mary always says exactly what I think. Yeah, it's really good to be reminded of the hindrances, and it was good to be reminded of recognition, because sometimes you are, you know, like being hard on yourself because you don't think that you're practicing the Dhamma. And then if you stop and maybe remember the times during the day that you did recognize something you did. And sometimes when you recognize it at the moment, you say, you beat yourself up at that moment instead of focusing on the fact that you recognize it.
Yes,
Which is, you know, really that you recognize it and then just be okay with the fact that you did it, but didn't recognize it. And realize that you took the one step forward by recognizing it. So that's what my perspective is very meaningful to. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. You got me jumping off my seat. It's just that. It's right there. At the point of recognition is where we practice the Dhamma. And if we don't have, again, why the Buddha taught this meditation method and not some other method is for that reason, so that we have a well-concentrated mind that can recognize what's occurring in my life, so that I can take control of it, not give it off to some magical realm or magical being. It's up to me. Thank you. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. I don't know if Michael can hear me, but he gets a gold star. I had a great dissertation prepared. He basically said it. So thanks, Mike.
You hear that, Michael?
You didn't hear me.
No, I it's hard to hear, but
what Michael said, that's what I wrote down. Reconciliation can only happen if these hindrances are recognized as they occur.
Yeah.
As they occur. And what I think you said and everybody's been saying is that, you know, this is more like psychology than religion, because it's about understanding that these things, these conditioned thinking things that are in our subconscious, they don't live in the right view. They exist to self-preserve themselves. And so they want you to have these hindrances. They want these hindrances to exist, to preserve itself. And so they manifest in all these impermanent phenomena that exist, thoughts and feelings. They're just emotional reactions to these impermanent phenomena. And the hindrances are just those manifestations that are out there. And, you know, it's interesting, you say to abandon them, not to revel in doubt and these hindrances and analyze them. And that's true, because logically speaking, analyzing something that happened in the past is just torturing yourself.
It is.
But I do think, for Michael's point, everybody's point, that recognizing once you feel or recognize that, yes, I'm feeling doubt, feeling ill will, you can reconcile that and move on to jhana and concentration and move forward and become a better practitioner, rather than staying in that Sangha feedback. So it's such a powerful short sutta, and I know Hindus isn't really talked about a lot in Dhama, but they really are.
Well, we do here.
They are here, but they're not elsewhere, and but they really are the manifestations of everything.
They are. Yep. And these five hindrances, and they are the five hindrances that will take us out of our Dhamma practice if we let them. But as wise Dhamma practitioners, we listen to the Buddha's words and we notice they're nothing. They're like foam on the ocean. That's another reason why we don't get into analyzing or playing with them in any way. Because as soon as we do that, we're legitimizing them. We're legitimizing something that has no legitimacy at all. Thank you, Tim. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning, good to be here. Thanks for your teaching and thanks for what everybody had to say today. Yeah, just coming back to my breath and practicing the Dharma point of contact is where I'm trying to be, because you can't succeed in any other way.
Yeah.
So that's matter of the mind just keep on propping up, putting all these things up, and it'll just get me and try to snag me in some kind of way and get me to react in that way, but I have to just realize this is it. Catch my breath and keep on going forward.
Thank you, Brett. Yeah, and it's our thoughts that we get snagged on.
Yeah.
And when we change our thoughts, we're no longer getting snagged on. A good way of putting it. Thank you. Good morning, Kevin. I'm good. How are you?
I'll just echo what everyone else has said. It's just it's a remarkable teaching. Hindrances of ever present meditation for me, and many of us. Maybe even what Buddha talked about when he had the confrontation with Mara.
Yeah.
Time meditating, fighting against these entities that were what everyone has said, consoling that it doesn't hurt everyone, and we can let them go.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you all. Remarkable class on a remarkable sutta that again includes the entire Dhamma here, doesn't it? And it's just a reminder to be gentle with ourselves, and the way to do that, the most gentlest act we can take, is to develop full human maturity through the Dhamma, because the Dhamma itself was taught by the most gentlest human being we've ever known. And it's reflected in every aspect of his Dhamma. The reason why people fall away from the Dhamma isn't because it's difficult or harsh. It's because our dealings with the Dhamma are difficult and harsh. We have a lot of doubt. We want constant sensual desire. We have a lot of ill will towards ourselves and others that we can't seem to reconcile. And many people, and I said this once before, feel like they have to eliminate the hindrances before they can actually practice the Dhamma or any other type of spiritual practice, when of course you have to face them and simply abandon them. What a great teaching. All right, we'll finish as we always do with Metta. Wow, I got to get out of here. Give me a moment. So we'll finish with Metta as we always do, the Buddha's words on Metta. And you can see that this directly addresses all of the hindrances, but specifically ill will. The Buddha's words on Metta from the Karaniya Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, emitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. Radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Thank you all for a wonderful class this morning. Peace. Stay safe, everyone. See you all.
Yeah.
Bye, John. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
all soon. I'll talk to some of you soon, too.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.